IS did an oopsie.
Waifus for life. Come at me, bro.
Thanks for inviting me over to Music Studio.
You're a wizard, Dimitri.
Welcome to LuckyMojo.com.
Fire Emblem 16.
Well, my friends, it seems that Internkun has struck again. In case you're not familiar, Intern-kun is kind of an in-joke among the Fire Emblem Heroes subreddit. Basically, whenever Intelligent Systems makes a mistake, it's blamed upon the intern. The interesting thing about Intern-kun, though, is they never seem to make the same mistake twice. This time around, we've got a brand new leak here. You've probably already heard about it because it's been a couple days at this point. In case you haven't, I will go through it in this video, and I did also want to talk about some of my expectations for this upcoming Binding Blade banner and some of the information around that. So we'll get into all of that. Thank you for tuning in and joining me. Let's take a look. So the other day, Reddit user ThatOneGuyElijah posted this image from the Google Play Store, which shows a brand new event that it's said to begin in 5 days, which is called The Legendary Hero Roy Blazing Lion is Here. Basically showcasing that our next legendary hero will in fact be Roy, seemingly to coincide with the upcoming Binding Blade banner that we'll also be getting in a couple weeks. If we take a look at the event calendar here, we do have a legendary hero summoning event on 2/26, which apparently is going to now be legendary hero Roy. Of course, I do want to say this is all unconfirmed. It could just be some kind of a weird placeholder or an error or something like that. But I think that odds are it's probably pretty real because it does seem to coincide with everything else that's coming very shortly. And honestly, it's kind of overdue that we got a legendary hero Roy. People have been waiting for it. It's one of the few people that I think a lot of people are hoping to see, kind of like Seliph or maybe Sigurd or something like that, because we could use a little bit more love for some of those guys. But yeah, it definitely seems like something that is going to happen because it does coincide with everything else that's going to happen, and we know that there will be a Binding Blade banner. And on the calendar, it looks like the Binding Blade banner should be taking place on March 7th. Of course, we can't see beyond that on the calendar, but it would also be awesome to get a Grand Hero battle to coincide with Binding Blade. There's a number of characters that could potentially be on there. Either they're going to save Ithun for a mythic hero, or perhaps Ithun could also be a Grand Hero battle. That remains to be seen. Some people call this character Idun or Idun, but it's actually an eth, so I think the correct pronunciation should technically be Ithun or something along those lines. So that's definitely a potential character that we could get as a Grand Hero battle. I also think that if we're not going to see Ithun as the Grand Hero battle, there's probably a pretty good chance that we'll end up seeing characters like Brunya, Gale, or Murdoch, as those characters definitely seem to be the next runners-up as far as this list, with Brunya coming in at 329th place overall. So if you haven't checked out my video on Camus characters, those characters are featured. You can check it out up here. They're definitely very cool and very interesting characters. I'd love to get them into the game. So perhaps there's a possibility to get one of those characters as a Grand Hero battle coming up to coincide with this as well. I would definitely be very excited to see that. And as far as characters that we could potentially see in this Binding Blade banner, I do think that the good news is that as far as more alts ending up in the banner, it seems like Roy as an alt in the banner is probably not going to happen, thankfully. Now that he's going to be a legendary hero character, we could potentially see another brand new Lilina end up in the banner. Hopefully not, but you know, judging by past stuff that Intelligent Systems has done, it could be a possibility. As far as other characters that we could see, if we take a look at the Choose Your Legends 3 results and see the top Binding Blade characters that fans want to get into the game, we're looking at Ithun, Rutger, Deke, Lou, and Percival. So I think it's pretty obvious that a lot of those characters have a pretty good chance of showing up on the banner. I'd say other characters that we could potentially see as well. Milady, I also saw Gonzalez there, pretty high up in the list. Not quite as high as some of these other characters, but they're in there. Sue and Walt are also pretty high up in the popularity list as far as with the votes that they got in Choose Your Legends 3. So I think honestly any of those characters have a pretty good chance. I think there's also the possibility that they do end up sticking with kind of the more beginner characters from Binding Blade, considering we don't have, you know, very much of that roster at all. But the good news is that a lot of the characters that people did want are actually pretty early game characters. So once again, I do think that there's a good chance that these characters will make it in. And even if they do decide to stick with the more early game characters to flesh it out, you know, step by step, we'll still see most of these same characters. So that would be good. And the reason why I say that is because we have seen in the past with them fleshing out genealogy and with Thracia that was the case, that they tended to stick with the more beginning early on characters. So overall, I'm really excited about this news. I think it's been way too long since we've seen Binding Blade characters make it into the game. And I think overall, what they should end up doing, honestly, is just focusing on a different game every single month. And I know that in some ways they have done that before, but they just aren't doing it enough, considering we still don't have a good roster representation for Thracia, even genealogy still. So there's just still so many games that they're still lacking a lot of focus on, and I'd love to see more focus, especially in the coming months. Honestly, like, it seems like they're afraid, especially with seasonals too, to give us seasonals of characters that are less popular that people might not know about. But in reality, I kind of feel like if they did seasonals, really appealing seasonals of some of these older characters, we might have another, you know, Reinhardt or Owen situation where some of these characters that weren't that popular ever before are actually super popular. And who knows, they could be people's new waifus and stuff, depending upon the outfits that they're put in. So I think there is still good potential with that, and I really hope that in the coming year that they do stray away from having more Fates characters as the more seasonal banner alt characters, because I think most of us at this point are pretty tired of that. I also think the second anniversary was a rather big letdown, and I think that there's still a lot of big quality of life updates that we're going to need, hopefully, in the near future, because I don't really like this whole thing where they kind of wait a year to address certain issues and problems, and then they'll leave it for the anniversary or the next major app version to fix. And I think that that's kind of not good enough at this point. So I hope that 2019 isn't another kind of autopilot year for Intelligent Systems, because for me personally, I wasn't too big of a fan of a lot of the decisions made in 2018. I still love the game, I'm still going to continue playing the game, but I think they could do a lot better, especially with some quality of life stuff that we absolutely need, like a pool revamp, maybe a skill refinery. I see a lot of you guys out there talking about. So something, and definitely sooner rather than later. But thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, click subscribe to get more like this. You can also slash that thumbs up down below if you enjoyed this video. It really helps out the channel. Thank you to all of our amazing patrons. I'll actually be making another behind the scenes episode very, very soon here. I had another one filmed, but I wasn't too happy with the results, so I do have to redo it. If you'd like to, you can check out and join the Lucky Crit Discord sub-community. We're very fortunate to have some pretty great people over there, so if you're interested in talking more beyond this video, definitely check that out. Links to everything are, of course, in the description below. And you can also follow us on Twitter for the latest Fire Emblem news and updates. And I will catch you guys in the next episode.